Ready to go?
We are now.
Great. Okay, welcome to all of you. We have first to approve January minutes. Tom sent it out yesterday.
I move we approve the minutes.
Oh, good. You
Second.
put that on. Thank you. Lisa, you seconded?
Yeah, I said
Okay.
second. Oh, you didn't hear me. Apologize.
No,
Second.
I think I was looking for the agenda and I maybe didn't hear. So moved and
Okay.
seconded to approve the minutes from January. Those in favor say aye.
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 Next one, financial report. And I have good news. Tom said we got our $1,000 from Seroptimus, and I think that's what they owe, isn't it? Isn't that what they
I think that's what they committed to.
Yeah, I know I did send out invoices to Seroptimus, T-Bid, and to Heart of the Rockies. Heart of the Rockies is processing it, so we should get the 5,000 from them soon. And I know T-Bid sent in their money, correct, Tom?
Yeah, so in the balance that was on the report includes 5,000 from Chamber, 3,200 from the T-Bid. And then the operating income line also includes $1,000 from the Chamber, which is more for the direct digital marketing.
Oh, so we have that money from Chamber now, 1,000 for general marketing.
Mhm.
Okay, and you put it in that category?
I did put it in the operating income. I can
Okay,
change that description if we want to.
we might want to have a just marketing one.
Yeah, because it's meant specifically for digital ads.
Yeah.
Sure.
And just like that META money, I think that we allocated last time the, how much was it? 1,500, I think, to go to ads. That should be put in the marketing.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
That 1,500 that we allocated for META last time,
Uh-huh.
that should be put into marketing because that we allocated for ads. And then we allocated the $500 for the visitor center, correct?
Yep, for the cleaning.
Yep, at least that's what my notes say here.
Yeah, I will adjust the line items for that 4,500.
Okay,
So back to the report.
okay. We'll put it up. I could bring it up myself, but I didn't copy it. I didn't print it out. Can you
I
pull
can
that up?
open it real
Can
quick.
you
One
do-
sec.
can you do that, Tom? That'd be great. Okay.
So total balance currently in the checking account, 31,169.03.
Okay.
Of course, to remember, $7,673 is tagged for the summer camp.
Yep. Yep.
And then, of course, I just today received $1,000 from Seroptimus that will be added to that balance, bringing it to
Okay.
32,000. Yeah, so that's about all I have. And like I said, this operating income up here at the 9,200.
Yep.
I will take that 1,000 out of that and put that towards the marketing line item.
Because I know you also have a list of categories, which is kind of separate from this, correct?
Yeah, I might have to create a new one, but yeah, I can make it more specific.
Okay. Questions about the finances? You can see our payroll there. Tom, are you going to submit again soon, or what's about every 3 months you do?
Yeah, I can maybe for the next meeting. I was just
Okay.
looking. After today, I'll have 5 months
Oh, okay. It's been
that I
that long.
can submit.
Okay.
So
Why
yeah.
don't you do that? Yep.
Mhm.
So any questions about our cash flow? So do I hear a motion to approve?
So we have to approve this report?
Actually, we don't. No, I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry.
Okay.
Didn't I
It's
say
probably
that,
not-
Mary? We don't need to do that.
It's
Sorry.
probably not necessary, but people
Yeah.
have made a motion in the
I
past.
know, we don't need to. I think we went over it, and so we have it, and thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, old business, assistance projects. I know we have Sweetgrass on. Would you like to talk about any of the projects, things you're involved with?
Yeah, in the new year, just as it has been in 2021, a lot of our ARPA and infrastructure projects have continued, and things have been busy on that front. Our executive director represented us in Helena yesterday to, I believe it was either yesterday or today. The days have blurred together a bit, but she spoke in Helena to support some infrastructure projects that we're working with at this time. On my end, my main focus has been getting ready for the digital marketing workshops, which I have set up for March, as well as looking ahead to dates for QuickBooks trainings that we're trying to make happen. It's looking like June 2nd is a date that's getting thrown around a lot. Again, there's a couple more details that have to be confirmed, but I'm hoping that June 2nd is going to be the golden date for us to get a QuickBooks training into the region. And we'll have more details on that as soon as possible. I highly recommend K-Rose Consulting, who we have for the digital marketing trainings in Conrad and Shelby, March 8th and March 31st. I've gotten a chance to see what she does, and she's fantastic.
And I think you're participating in one of those, right, Jen?
You're on mute, Jen.
I can read your lips, Jen. I think you said yes.
I thought I hit the button. Yes, I will be at the March 1st one in Conrad.
Okay, great.
Awesome. And in addition to that, we're going to be working with KLJ Engineering on our comprehensive economic development strategy rewrite, which is coming up for this year. So there will be at least, we're hoping to get at least one town hall in Choteau, and we'll be holding town halls in communities across the region as we go through the summer. So as soon as we have details on those, we'll be sharing those far and wide.
Okay.
And we've made a note of your previous comments that about housing and childcare.
Yep.
So that will be something that is among many things that are discussed.
Okay, great. Any other information, ARPA information? Is the state going to release some more ARPA funding? I know there's still a lot of funding tied up there.
I haven't heard anything yet. It's been a couple other things that have been my priority in the latter half of the week, and I haven't had the chance to touch base with Sarah about conversations in Helena. So
okay,
stay tuned.
Okay, great. I think particularly now it'd be nice to have some of that funding. And from MEDA, I think Jen, and you can jump in here. We have it on here. Gloria is leaving, and there's a new executive director coming in, and you met her, right, Jen?
I did.
We
And
both did, yeah.
Oh, you both did. Uh-huh.
oh, Sean, that's right. You were on that call too. So it was good to meet her. Do you remember what she said her exact background was?
Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I am unfortunately, my auditory processing is not the same as my reading processing.
Well, let's see. Her name, I forwarded to Mary. So her name is Rebecca Myers, and she's based out of Helena. And she was very well spoken during the meeting. She had just been approved her position that morning. And so I think she's just going to be onboarding for a couple months, really connecting. Meta has 33 board members. So just getting to know that number of board members is going to take her a while. But it sounds like they have some exciting new directions that they're going. And it was really fun. Sean and I sat in on their lunch hour discussion meeting, and it was just kind of talking about all the new things going on with Meta, which primarily was the executive director. So it was good to be introduced.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that Meta's put a lot of time and effort, even before I joined up back in 2020, to looking into the future. So there's definitely going to be some excitement coming out of that corner in the next several months.
Well, thank you. And I can jump forward because we have it later on, but we were going to join META, and it's usually based on the a percentage of your budget. And we don't have a huge budget. And I sent it in and they said, oops, the minimum is $1,000. And I decided we didn't have an extra $1,000 around. So I joined again personally, and Jen will get with that. Also, Gloria said that she would also join. So it's kind of we're joining individually. So Jen can participate and we'll get all the emails and that kind of thing. So, and I'll forward to you guys things that I get. But I thought I wasn't going to ask you guys us to put in $1,000. So coordinator report, I think is the next thing. Jen, you sent it out to us. Do you want to hit any of the high points?
I'll just hit a couple things. Most of it will hit further down in the agenda. Yep. So I don't want to take up our time, but housing was definitely the primary use of my time this month. I did reach out to Lisa, Blair, and Neil because I feel like I have not connected with them at all yet. And most of it is because I've just been dealing with housing. So you three are up for maybe toward the end of this next month to hear what your vision is for Kappa and what you see my position is doing. So I just wanted to connect with them, and I did that through email. I do have some new announcements to make for childcare that just came in. Other than that, I think we're going to hit everything else during the meeting.
Good. So we will go right ahead. I'm going to look quickly at my messages and see, because Blair might have.
And Mary, I do see that you have as number one under my coordinating report, fundraising for the position.
Oh, yes. This is not for you. I put this down for us, so I'm not moving on to projects yet. Thank you. We do have funding sources. We'll have another funding source starting this spring. But we need to reach out to some businesses. And since Blair is the vice chair and he's not on right now, I think he should do it. Steve and I were visiting, and in Great Falls Development Authority, like the banks are they participate a lot. And other, businesses, professional businesses, retail businesses, that kind of thing. And so we would like to try another round of fundraising. And if it's okay with those folks, those of you here, Lisa, and if you would like to participate, and it would kind of mean going to a business or two or three, and I'm happy to, with Jen and Steve, probably to put together a letter, but I think we want to ask for some funds to support this position from our businesses in town. So what do you folks think?
I think it's a necessary thing. I think it's a good thing. And like you say, it's a model that's worked in other communities. Looking at the list of folks that support the organizations and businesses that support GFDA in Great Falls, banks, lawyers, accountants, construction firms, like you say, retail, all across the board. And so I think it's a good thing to continue to garner financial support from the community, the business community especially. I think Blair's the perfect person to do it.
Or maybe we have Blair and Lisa. So Lisa, you're here. You can say no. Blair can't.
Oh. Well, I mean, I do think it's important that we continue to do what we can to raise funds. I have heard from businesses in the community that they're constantly being asked for donations and support, and it gets very difficult for them. You know, they're all mostly family-owned businesses, so they struggle as well with the increase of pricing and that sort of thing. So it doesn't hurt to ask. I kind of hate to ask, but
We thought about targeting. Now, I think particularly the banks should be interested in what we do.
yeah,
And they have access to more funds than some of our retail businesses would have.
yes, they do. Yeah. Yeah, they're bigger organizations, so that probably makes sense.
I think others to target insurance firms. We have quite a few of those in the community, and again, they're tend to be not targeted, affiliated with larger organizations, statewide or regional organizations. So I think that's a good match as well.
Well, I was thinking maybe accounting. We have 2 accounting firms.
Yeah, I actually was just thinking of that as well. Was the accounting firms.
Okay.
So that's a pretty small list.
Well, why don't I then, all right, we can put a basic letter together.
And Blair did just jump on.
Blair did?
Yep.
Blair,
No.
we've appointed you to be our chief fundraiser. So it's done.
Oh, okay. I got to sell a kidney.
Hey, whatever it takes for the sale, man.
Okay. All right.
We're looking at approaching probably personally and with a letter, our banks, our insurance companies, and our accounting firms particularly. Understanding, as Lisa pointed out, a lot of our retail folks, they're struggling.
Yeah.
What do you think about that idea?
It-
Would you be
Is
glad-
this for childcare, Mary? Is that what?
Oh, this is for Jen.
Oh, okay.
If we are gonna have childcare, we need to have Jen to get folks organized and
Right.
moving forward.
Yeah. No, I think that's fine. I think that'd be fine.
And would you be willing to maybe approach some folks that you know?
Sure. I mean, you're talking just we'll kind of come up with a list, identify the
Yep.
entities we're talking about. Yeah. That's
Yep.
fine.
Well, why don't I send out a list to all of you, and then you can kind of step up and say, hey, I know so-and-so pretty well. I'm happy to go talk to them.
Sure.
Does
That
that
works.
make sense?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, Lisa, does that make sense to you?
I'm nodding because I was on mute. Yes.
Okay. And I had a letter last year. I'll kind of revamp that a little bit, send it around. And then you guys can, of those 3 types of entities, determine who you'd maybe like to go visit. Okay? Thank you.
Sounds good.
I don't like talking about fundraising, and I've done a lot of it for different organizations and political stuff, and I just do not like it.
It sounds to me like you're just an expert.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm chicken.
Mary, how long is my position currently funded for? My understanding was 2 years. Is that,
2 years.
so we're looking then beyond those 2
Well,
years?
and further support. I mean, at some point, if you have more hours to give, we'd like to have some money to be able to pay you for more hours.
Mhm.
Okay. And it might be good, if we waited, 6 months into my position to say, this is what this position has already done for the community, and be able to put some facts behind the ask. Just a thought to throw out there. People always want to know what bang they're gonna get for their buck. And so I feel like if we waited just a little bit of time, because right now, pretty much I could tell them 2 things that I've just really been focused on. But yeah, that might be helpful too for the cell.
We could do that. I'd like to do it before summer though, because I think then people just get scattered.
Sure.
Mhm.
And I think the housing particularly, and we can look back at what Kappa generally has done with marketing and branding, and hopefully more with childcare. So, yeah.
I think targeting like mid-June is probably
Okay,
about right anyway. I mean, all told.
okay. Well, that gives us some leeway to work. Okay, great. Anything else on that? That's Blair's grandchild, I know.
Yeah, sorry, I'm figuring out how to mute this thing, so sorry.
Fine, Blair.
Yeah, there we go.
Projects, the Three Rivers support letter I sent out to you, that's done.
Do we need to, did we approve that at the last meeting
Yes,
or do we
we
need
did.
to? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. And I just said I'd write it and I sent it out. So I just wanted to note that that's done. Meet a mini grants. We distribute some and we have $7,700 left. Tom and I talked and there was $2,700. Isn't that right, Tom, that we figured was still remaining and we allocated 2,000. So we have $700 if there's something pressing right now. If not, we have that money available to allocate to community projects or to more marketing. And it was initially to be, well, we're giving 500 to the chamber, which was part of for the Wi-Fi for chamber. I mean, for the visitor center. So anyway, should we just leave it now or do you want to allocate it for something?
Just throwing it out there, the brochure box at the visitor center is broken on the outside of the building.
Oh,
There's the vinyl or whatever it's called, plexiglass cracked, and it's now an open spot. I noticed that the last time Jen and I were over there.
okay. What would that cost to get done?
Probably not much. I think I purchased it for $150 maybe on Amazon. I'm
I
just trying to
move
think
we
of other-
allocate the funds for replacing that box.
Okay,
Second,
been moved and seconded to get replaced. For what do you call it? What kind of box?
It's a
outdoor brochure holder.
there you
What's
go.
yeah, like
Brochure
a
box.
pamphlet
Okay.
box or something.
Pamphlet box. Yeah.
Okay. Replace the pamphlet box, brochure box. Those in favor, say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Okay. LWCF grants. I contacted the guy again because Drew is very interested. And he said he calls them every week. And these funds have to be allocated by mid-March. And so he's expecting it to come soon. And I actually, a couple days ago, contacted Senator Tester's office and they're looking into it. I've had enough. So if any of you want to contact Danes's office, I just think it's disappointing that the Park Service, I mean, Fish, Wildlife and Parks kind of dragged their feet and they had some trouble. But that these funds haven't been allocated yet is not acceptable. So anyway, I'm hoping next month we'll have the money. Birding grants, what do we get there, Jen? I think you know that one.
$3,637 is
Okay,
what Wild Wings received from, it's the Department of Commerce Destination Grant. And that was announced statewide. So that's exciting. They received it 2 weeks ago. And that it's just been a great grant opportunity for a lot of organizations across the state. I'll probably hit on it a little bit later, but I have given this opportunity to Seroptimists and Lions. I've talked to the Choteau Arts about it, and they tend to be giving away about $150,000 a week. And last week, they only had 180,000 left. So I'm not expecting it to go much beyond this week. So that money, it was 500,000 first come, first serve, or until June 1st. So I'm excited that one of our groups got it. I know that Choteau Arts is putting together an artist in residence sort of program and hoping to get something written this weekend.
Oh, good.
So if that's the case, I'll proof that and we'll try and get that out first thing next week.
And
And
it
I'm
would
hoping
go
to
under
work
their-
with you. Sorry, go ahead, Mary.
It'd be under their sponsorship, not ours, correct?
Correct.
But you would be assisting. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, Steve, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Well, it's been on my list of things to talk to Jen about is doing some wayfinding stuff through this grant for 4th of July, particularly to get signage to point people off of Main, kind of onto First Northwest towards the city where all the retail stuff is there. I think it'd be a good fit. And I know I've spread the word to the Dinosaur Center. They're looking at potentially applying as well. So,
We'll tell them to get on the stick.
oh, yes, I have
Steve,
been.
Steve, I'll get the report tomorrow of how much is left, and I'll let you know. And I told Susan Lindster I'd let her know also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that's nice for Wild Things. And then some of that is marketing, right, Steve? So that money that we
Yeah.
have allocated can go to other things now.
Right.
Cool. Dog park, I just wanted to update the status. Polly's gone now. They are looking at a lease with the city, and I think they're kind of waiting for that. And they will, at least that's what Polly said. Is that true, Steve?
Yeah, I think there's just some, and Tom may have better insight on this right now. The leases, getting a lease figured out is a step in that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she said that's got to be done before they start fundraising, obviously.
Oh, sure. Fair enough.
Anyway, they are energetic and moving forward. Recreation and tourism, we had a committee, it was from the META assessment, and initially there were probably 14, 18, maybe more, 20 people on it, but there's kind of a core group of 6 maybe who helped us with the toolkit grant and also with the mapping grant. And I would like to ask them to reconvene and maybe look at what kind of marketing they'd like to see. And I think on that, there'd be a representative, obviously, of Chamber and TBID. I think there already is. But I'd like to kind of get that reconstituted so that we can have some advice on where to go with marketing and branding and to our recreation and tourism, really. Does that sound reasonable?
I think so. I think particularly if we're asking them on marketing stuff, though, I do want to point out that they aren't a target market for our tourism advertising. And so maybe guiding them to do the research instead of just giving straight suggestions on what they want to see. We
Okay.
need to know what our consumers want to see, what the people who are visiting,
Yeah.
Mm.
So Joe was on that committee, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh,
Terry Barch, I think, was on there.
Polly Cunningham was, because it's recreation and tourism was what it was. And so we'll send out to folks that have been involved and ask them to get together again and probably talk to them. And Jen, you'd probably come and let folks know what's going on, that you're available, and what advice they have, because they've been helpful. Community Roundtable, obviously that's in March. Housing, CDBG, Jen.
Well, the grant has all been sent to NeighborWorks Montana. It was sent the week before last, and Kaya had thought that she would get to it, and then she came down sick and has not. She contacted me on Wednesday and said she would get to it as soon as possible, but she was overwhelmed at the moment. So the hopeful date that I had, because the city council has to put together, has to sign the resolution of accepting this grant, even if it's not, it will still be in somewhat of a draft form. My hope was March 1st, but since I don't even have any of the edits back, I think we're going to have a hopeful date of March 15th. Once the edits come in, I have all the appendices pretty much put together. And so it's just going to be merging the documents, putting everything together, getting it out to our city council people. I'd like to get it to the housing team, which I've worked with Mary, Steve, and Mayor Chris, and have them look over everything. But it really has been putting together an entire program for our city. It's been interesting. The state and Kaya with NeighborWorks has been extremely helpful. But it's interesting to me that so many of the forms that they require, they don't have templates for. So I requested that from the state this week to see if they had anything that I could base stuff on. And she seemed kind of interested, like, I wonder why no one else has asked for this. So it seemed they have a really good administrative manual. And so I suspect that they might add some of these specific forms that they're requesting into that. But it's been an interesting process, and everyone has been really supportive. I've only heard the one comment against it, but I've had lots of chit chat around town with you know, it's great that we're trying to do something, trying to preserve homes. And I just keep telling people that this is our foot in the door to see how this program works. And if it goes smoothly, then it's something we can broaden.
Mhm.
What questions do you have of me?
Do you mention this when you go talk to different groups and whatnot that you're working in this project? Like you went to Seroptimus, I know.
Yes, yes. And so that's the first thing they always give me 5 or 10 minutes for presentation. I talk about what I've been doing, what my bullet points are for my position with Kappa. And so there's been interest as far as a few questions here and there, but I haven't had anyone really in depth come up to me yet and ask the deep questions with interest in maybe doing this. So that will certainly come, I think, as more advertising goes out. Right now, we just want to get everything finished, signed off by the city, sent in, and then hopefully we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks to hear back.
That's a pretty quick turnaround. It really is. I mean,
It is.
here we are with LWCF only a year later.
Right, right. And I did have a correction to the Acantha. This is a non-competitive grant. And so they really want us to succeed at this. I mean, there's no timeline. The state has just been wonderful in working with us. And so they just want to see our success for Choteau and for the community. And I think as an example for other small communities that can start out this way. So it's been encouraging.
Well, you jumped right into it. That's for sure, Jen. Thank you.
Thanks.
Comments, questions?
I've been involved in it, so I'm pretty up to speed on everything. Lisa, anything from you? Or Blair?
Claire?
No,
No, I think I'm fairly up to speed.
If we didn't have Jen, this wouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell
Right.
you, I wouldn't have tackled something like this, and I can't imagine anybody else would tackle something. I mean, it's a huge grant. It really is.
Mhm.
But I think it is kind of a foot in the door for a lot more, hopefully. So,
I think we'll have a lot of the systems in place for the future if we do something else similar.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And the support of city council and the mayor, I mean, it's just kind of fortuitous that the interested people and Tom, you know, he comes to the meetings and is aware of it because he's going to have to do some of the administrative stuff.
Yep.
It's been a real team effort. And Jen, you've been a good leader. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meat processing, we talked a little about that. Corey's gone, and Jen's gonna visit with Sean. Now, childcare, that's one I want to spend a little time on. We do need to vote on, I guess, support for that. We will again do the administrative work for a childcare. I know Eve asked me specifically if we would do that, and I'm assuming we will. Should we vote on it, I suppose?
So I do, if I would be glad to make a motion to support them. I do have some comments on it though.
Okay.
So I do make the motion that we support them for 2022. I do want to note that I'm not sure our structure is the best fit for them overall for sponsorship. You know, 501c3 might be a better,
Yeah.
you know, either TCDC or forming their own 501c3 just for tax benefit purposes. I don't know if that's their eventual goal. But I just want to note that like a government entity is not the most ideal sponsorship for this.
They could do it into the community foundation as well, but
Oh, sure.
what they really want from us is the administrative help, and they are paying an administrative fee, right, Tom? Don't they pay a certain fee for your, I thought that you tacked something on.
I
that you-
did, yeah. So I did charge their line item on the budget, part of my fee just for processing the payroll, and any sort of claims that came through. Plus, I charge their line item for anything that comes from Casper Accounting,
Mhm.
because they actually process all the back end payroll taxes and W-2s.
Okay.
So then that's all coming out of their own line items.
That was something that Eve had reached out to me to make sure that Tom was being compensated for his time. So make sure that that continues.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
So Steve, was there any problems that arose from the
None
way?
whatsoever. No, not at all.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, it was pretty easy to interface with them using Square and help them kind of facilitate that from our end. Like as a Square as a payment processor and that kind of stuff. And I think Tom with Wave accounting, it was all pretty simple to structure. And working, I worked with Annie. I think it was just Annie. I'm trying to remember. It was like a lifetime ago at this point. Helping her get invoices set up in Square and that kind of thing was really straightforward from my end. It didn't take a lot of time for me to help them out with that. It's not about our infrastructure. It's just in terms of a best fit for this kind of community support is all I'm thinking of.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. Oh, no, I was just curious if there was anything that once we got into it, if there was any problems that arose or anything.
I don't know, do we need a motion then that we will again assist them?
So I did make that motion.
Oh, did you? Okay, I'm sorry. Did somebody second?
I'll
yet.
second that.
Okay, moved and seconded that we again assist administratively the summer camp. Those in favor say aye.
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 Okey-doke, motion passes. So general childcare, what do you have to say, Jen? What are you hearing?
Quickly, Mary, before we leave the summer
Oh,
camp,
Okay,
Annie and Eve reached out to me to see if I had any suggestions. They would like to find some funding. I did connect them with Family Connections, and she sent me 3 grant thoughts that she had, and I've already passed that along. But with this group here, particularly Blair, you worked with them a little bit last year, but do you have some suggestions of where I can point them? They want to keep cost down for families to encourage involvement. I have talked to them about capital credits through Sun River, and of course they know about Three Rivers grants also. Any suggestions?
Well, I really don't have it. I mean, when we were kind of going down that rabbit hole of fundraising, I don't know, Mary. I mean, I don't remember anything that jumps out that would have kind of been appropriate for this type of thing.
they did get funds though, just by asking. They put the ad in the paper and you might tell them. I
Oh,
think
yeah,
if they
absolutely.
want to put an ad in the paper, it comes out of their money, not ours.
I agree.
But they could put an ad in the paper and have them just send it to Tom, and we got quite a bit of money from that, didn't they, last year, Tom?
Yes, they brought in, just rough estimate, $10,000 from donations.
Wow,
That's
wow,
significant.
it
And
is.
Basically that 7,000 or 7,600 that's still left is because of those donations.
Well, they can ask again.
And I would, there's not specific childcare stuff. It's something that it'll, kind of in competition of what we're talking about with soliciting funds for Jen's position.
Yeah.
But these bigger organizations, the bigger businesses, the banks, the insurance affiliates, even, what's the one that Cindy Johnson up in Conrad's involved with? She's president of now. Does anyone remember? No. Anyway, it's a farmers union, farmer association. Anyway, they're a statewide outfit. They're
Oh, she's with
affiliated
Farm
nationally.
Bureau. She's
Farm Bureau. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, she's not
But
Farmers Union.
no, Farm Bureau. I was A, B, C. It's one of those. Anyway, reaching out to those entities that do have the bigger reach to support our local stuff, I think is important. I think it's a little bit of legwork to do grant writing, but we as a community are not doing a lot of asking of those type of entities overall. We get a little bit of fun, the band shell projects being supported by First Bank of Montana, Glacier Bank Corp, a few things like that, but that's pretty recent, pretty new overall compared to what other, you look at the Bozeman and Billings and Missoula, Great Falls projects that are out there, and they're getting big bucks to support their communities from these bigger entities. And so I think it's worth, a little legwork on Eve and Annie and those ladies doing this to ask, just ask. I mean,
Particularly if we turn it into something bigger into childcare. That's where I really hope we can do the bigger asks for some funding. And so that I think leads into, I think at this point, there's only one or two people that are interested in looking at further childcare. Is that right, Jen?
That's correct. The only one I talked with was Becky Preston. She's the only one who wants to look at long-term childcare. Although today I had an email from Chandra Loaf, and she's a community member, and she reached out to me. She had she wants to be a licensed in-home childcare person.
Oh,
And so I have connected her with Family Connections. And I said that if you guys had any suggestions for me, I'll pass that along. Also, she wants to get licensed and be ready to roll as soon as possible. I think she's been doing some side work out of her house. This
mhm.
will continue to be in her house, but she's looking for some funding to help pay for the classes that she needs to take. And so Esther Wilson at Family Connections was a great resource, suggested someone else within their office for her to talk to. So I'll be passing that along after the meeting, but if any of you have suggestions on a broader scale, right now it's just Becky. And I think I said at the last meeting, the problem is you are in the need for childcare for such a short period of time, typically, 2 to 5 years, depending on how many kids you have before they go into preschool. I know, Mary, you had talked about maybe visiting with Chuck and having a conversation about Head Start coming back. But at this point, Chandra's the only one who I've spoken with. And then I plan to reach out to Becky later this month. As my time frees up just a little bit.
And so who's Chandra? What's your last name?
Loaf, Lohf. And Chandra is Shandra.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is Rhonda Schwenke the other kind of person in the state side
Yeah.
of things? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I had spoken with Rhonda, and Rhonda is the one who sent Chandra my direction.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Is
That is
now
good.
is Chandra wanting to be licensed then, Jen?
Yes, she is.
Okay. So she's going to comply with all the state stuff and all that.
That's her hope. I think she's just beginning the investigation process, and it is a process. And so I think that's what has stopped a lot of our in-home caregivers, because there is a lot of legality that has to be followed.
Yep.
So Jen, you had mentioned earlier with the CDBG grant processes from the community side, from the city side, that we can put in place templates, that kind of thing. Is there any of that to your knowledge right now that we as the Port Authority can kind of be a repository for to kind of help facilitate in-home caregivers getting licensure, that kind of thing? Or is that more within the realm of you just named the organization, the one that Heather used to be
Family
part
Connections.
of. Thank you, Family Connections.
Yeah, Family Connections has it down so it's science. This is what they do.
Perfect.
They have a great page. They have a digital booklet, step 1, step 2, what you need to do, how to make a budget, how to form a company. That's the place I would suggest people to go. Now I have the names and connections of the exact people within the office.
Did you share our proposal that we had, a year and a half ago, the plan for a community childcare? Because at least that had in it the budgeting, and this was looking at quite a few kids, like 30 kids. I doubt she's looking at that.
Right.
But it was a budget that we actually, or Heather got through Family Connections, that we, and I think I sent you a copy of that, didn't I?
I don't have much for childcare at all. If you could, that would be great.
Okay. It was a plan that we put together, a business plan with
Okay.
Heather's help. And with the help of the folks that were in the committee, Annie was involved, and there are some others that were involved because they're looking at a community childcare center. And that kind of fell to the wayside. There wasn't enough interest in it. But, if she's interested, I guess my next kind of question was, is this really is a larger thing than just something for the Port Authority to look at, or a group of folks who do have small children and they're very busy. There are a lot of grandparents in town. There are a lot of other people, businesses who recognize the need for childcare, even though it's not their personal need perhaps right now. And that's where I don't know if it would be worthwhile. And Sandra, this Shonda would help, but we need more than probably just one in having some sort of a community roundtable on what can we do, and inviting some of the organizations and businesses like the hospital, like the school district, Lions, because they are always good at doing things, Seroptimists, Chamber. I don't know. It's a, and Blair, I kind of mentioned that to you a little bit earlier today. I don't know if it's worthwhile or not.
What I see happening around the state and particularly the West with rural regions is organizations like ours and chambers as being the ones who gather people together to start discussion. But really the work has to be go to people who are interested in working in this field and running the organization. And so Missoula Chamber, Kalispell Chamber is starting these discussions with, like you said, hospitals, big businesses, schools, nursing homes, so that their employees can have childcare. But they have a little bit more infrastructure than we do and population to be able to pull from. And they're still struggling to find the people who want to be in this line of work. And so, I like your idea. Let's bring it to the forefront again with a roundtable, get the discussion started again. But what I'm seeing is that unless someone wants to go forward with it and do the actual running of an running of an institution, an educational institution, then that's going to be challenging.
Blair, you said you talked to some Helena folks?
Well, yeah, when I was in Helena and just kind of bounced questions off there, and they're in the same situation. They have daycares, but it's extremely expensive. And now you have to commit to blocks, right? So you're paying a monthly, whether your kids, they're 1 day a week or 5. So there is, in virtually all the major part-time options. So you may find some in-home type things, but my niece was one of the people I talked to, and then another gal who's a dentist talked with her as well. And it's expensive, and it's getting more expensive. So, but they have the same problem we do. It's just that being a bigger municipality, they have more options than we do, but the problem is still there.
Well, we often talked about the subsidizing, the mill levy idea, and I'm sure other communities are struggling with that too. Are there outside funding sources that can be harnessed in order to have a longer term funding source to basically, sure, there's some subsidy from the state. And if you're lower income, you get, the subsidies. But I think for anyone, it's forcing people to not work anymore because it's so expensive and it just is non-existent in some places.
Well, and in Jen's point, and Mary, you and I had that discussion, that was exactly where we ended up too. We had done a lot of work. We'd worked on the project over a year. We had found funding for some pretty major, a building, remodeling, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, we had nobody wanting to step up to actually do the day-to-day operations. And I agree with Jen. Until that person steps forward, a lot of this is kind of moot.
Mm-hmm. But to have someone at least locally who's looking at opening their own, which I think might be up to 12 children or something like that. Maybe she has some people who'd work there. Would she do it all herself? Is that what Chandra's looking at?
I did be sure that I asked her right off the bat if she was interested in having an actual commercial facility, and she is not, and she wants to only do it on her own, which limits her to, I believe, 8 kids.
Okay, and she'd be the only one.
Yes, because she wants to do it in her house. But I do think a good conversation is to get the unlicensed childcare providers to a roundtable to present what their pros and cons are from this business. There might be other, stay-at-home moms or dads who are interested in doing this, but have no idea where to start. And so maybe our conversation isn't just for licensed childcare. Maybe it needs to be brought into, let's just let people know what the pros and cons are. There definitely are pros and cons. And we have, several good childcare providers in town who might be willing to come to a roundtable, which would encourage other people to do the same thing.
Well, Jen, I don't know if you're aware of what we did last year, but we tried to canvass the community with, I think, what did we do, Mary? 3 different surveys. We sent stuff home from the schools, and all of it was really aimed at identifying anybody that was interested in becoming involved with daycare, and not to run a facility, just to identify anybody that had interest in daycare. And I don't know if we ended up with anybody really.
Well, we got a couple. There was the one woman that come up from the
Well,
bidder.
Kim, yeah, that Kim, but then she's gone. She moved. Remember, she took a job at the school and then they relocated.
That's right. Yep. And then, but there was another gal, I can't think of her name, Heather or Holly or something like that, who had done childcare in the Bitterroot, and she was interested in doing it here. She even put an ad or something in the paper, but nothing came of it. Do you remember that? Lisa, you're looking like, do you remember? I visited with her and I thought she'd maybe
I
talk to you,
don't.
Blair. Huh.
No.
Yeah, I remember who it was, and she put an ad in the paper, but then nothing came into fruition. She had talked to us and originally said, yeah, I'd be interested, and then said, no, I just want to do my own thing. And then I don't think we ever heard anything about her again.
Okay. Well, do we need I mean, would it be appropriate to say have a roundtable which includes businesses, institutions, organizations, as well as current providers, whether they're licensed or not? Or would there be 2 different sorts of gatherings? I don't know. What do you guys think? And I think we're going to do it. We should do it, sometime in the spring before summer hits.
I don't know. I don't know I'm not understanding what our objective is. And maybe if we had that better defined, we'd know. I mean, are we just trying to remind people that we don't have a a very good childcare solution? And can we get y'all excited to think about it? Or are we again trying to assess the community needs? Or are we trying to raise funding? What are we trying to do?
Well, my initial one by getting organizations and institutions together was to say, hey, this is a community need and we need to have the community writ large involved. I think the other side is, and that's kind of what Jen, and that's why I said maybe there's 2 or different sort of objectives we could have. That's one, community involvement and support. And then the other is with current providers or would-be providers. And maybe that would even just be with the woman from Family Connections being virtual and meeting with either current or would-be child providers. So there's 2 different things there from what I'm seeing. And I think you're right, Lisa. Yeah, an all-in-one. My idea with the community roundtable was just to invite organizations, businesses, and institutions to say, hey, we've tried. And there is still a crying need. Are you guys interested in helping with this somehow? Whether it's funding or, yeah. What are some solutions we can look at? Looking for solutions and support.
Well, here's my 2 cents. I would say before any hat passing is done, that I would go back to trying to identify the people that want to be involved, that have an interest, whether it be existing daycare providers or potential daycare providers. But I feel that has to be in place. That's a critical, support structure that has to be there, because as we found out before, when we did go out and start getting money together, we had no place to put it. And there's timelines, I mean, we had to have all of our ducks in a row by a certain time. And, frankly, we weren't in a position to do it. So I really think it has to starting with the people that will be involved, hopefully.
But those people have not stepped up.
No, they haven't. And that's the problem.
And you look at the committee that we had great hopes for, but most of those people on the committee are people who have children right now. And as Jen pointed out, and we all know pretty well, it's a short period of time and they're really busy. But it really isn't just their need, it's a community need. And I think those who want to do it maybe don't know the need. And there are grants available. There are grants available now that weren't available when we initially looked at it. But you have to have somebody or something to apply for it for some purpose.
Right.
And again, I'm kind of looking at reinvigorating community awareness of the seriousness of the situation. We've tried, and the situation is still serious, but the people who we had kind of designated, they're busy doing other things. And it isn't because they're not interested, but they have jobs, they have families. But certainly the school districts knows it's important. They need it for their teachers. I'm sure the hospital knows it's important. Businesses know it's important. So how do we reinvigorate the conversation to get people interested in moving?
It might be worth, kind of just shaking the tree again. There has been a pretty significant, not significant, a change in demographics, people moving in, people moving out, that kind of thing. There might be something to just a roundtable to gauge the interest in the community. A lot of kids born in the last couple of years, as I can well attest.
And there have been, I know that very well.
There have been, absolutely. And so the need has definitely shifted. The people involved who may want to be involved has shifted. There's a lot more grandparents who've moved into this community or have bought property in this community. And so I think potentially a roundtable meeting, just kind of, hey, this is, a spotlight on it. See who wants, this is what we need to, this is what we as the Port Authority see we need to do, the next steps that we as a community need to take. Is there anyone who is willing to kind of partake in that? So I think that could be the ask. I think to answer your question, Lisa, is, and to Blair's point, like, here's the work we've done as the Port Authority, and that Blair's done with his group, that, this is the next action steps that we can take. We need someone to run with this. And so I think shaking the tree and seeing if there's anyone there through a roundtable, through kind of a spotlight event, could be useful.
And from that, maybe we do get a head start here again. There was an effort to do that, and nobody really followed up on it.
Well, and exactly that, there could be someone who says, well, those ideas are really good. Those were 2019 ideas. It's 2022 and we need to go this route. And if someone wants to run with it, all the better.
Why don't we talk to folks, think about it. I'll bring it up again next month. Jen, I'm going to ask maybe if you would talk to Chuck Gamian and maybe talk to Annie, because she's with the hospital, because to me, those are two entities that really do need this and could have some resources to help with it. Because Chuck always said I think he's even thought about doing a daycare with the school.
Yeah, and I actually, Mary, I talked to him about that directly, and he said they have no interest in doing a daycare at the school. So I think that maybe came up at some point. And also, we did kind of extend that out to benefits, and we received a pretty cool reception. So maybe something's changed, but we did go down that road as well.
But again, as Steve said, this is 3 years ago.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hey, I'm all for throwing something out in the community again. I guess my point being, before we start raising funds, let's try to identify people that are interested and involved.
And I'm not saying it, I'm looking more for involvement than funds. If we have something, then we raise funds, or we write a grant, or we do something like that. But we need to reinvigorate the conversation.
Yes.
And the need. Well, why don't we, Jen, if you would call Chuck and ask Annie. The one thing we did do is a summer program came from this discussion. We wouldn't have a summer program if we didn't have the discussion, have the committee that started working on it and decided this is what they want to do. So we have done, not we, but the community has done something.
And I think that summer program is a big thing. That was something very successful, that has come out of this and is going to be happening again. So I like the idea of seeing if people are interested, but I think it seems like Kappa's role in it at this point would just be gauging interest and being willing to get people together if there is interest.
A convener. Yeah. Steve, why don't you ask Chamber about it?
Will do.
So if we had chamber, we had the school district, and we had the hospital. At least that's 3. And if I can think of any, I mean, I can't, Lisa or Blair, anyone else or group specifically to ask?
No, I think that would be a good place to start. I mean, that's 3
Yep.
major entities in the town. So yeah, I think it'd be good.
Okay. Well, we'll do that then. And I'll put it on for next time, and we can talk about whether, you know, they express interest, or we need to have a larger roundtable discussion and convene something or not. Okay. Anything else in that? You know, I go to the ski area, and some of you do too, and there's a lot of little babies at the ski area. If they had a daycare, you know, although usually they take turns skiing, it's hilarious. You know, one takes care of the kid and the other one skis. You probably maybe did that, Lisa, back in the day with your kids. I don't know. I bet there's a half dozen of them up there.
They actually, the big ski resorts in Colorado have daycare
I'm
on
sure.
site. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
took advantage of that.
I bet you did. Yeah. So Mita, I covered that. So Jen and I will be members. Chamber membership, that's the thing we need to vote on. We've been a chamber member before, and are we going to be again? It's what, $100, $150? What is it?
125.
Okay, I was right in between, wasn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would move to renew our chamber membership.
And full disclosure, I have a glaring major conflict of interest as the
So you don't
president
even
of the
have to
chamber.
vote.
Oh, second,
Okay, thank you.
sorry.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have enough because Steve did not vote. So it's passed. That was it. Anything else?
And I do want to say just thank you guys for doing that. That does hit my goal for 85 members for this year. So
Oh, okay, good.
thank you very much for that.
Good, good. This was Jen's suggestion. She had me put it in the agenda. So anything else? Well, good meeting. Thank you all for joining. And let's think about the childcare, because I think that could be something that Jen could really facilitate well. And there certainly is a crying need out there. And I will talk to the recreation and tourism. We'll get that together too, because that's something that needs to be reinvigorated.
Yeah. And hey, Jen, I want to let you know, I did receive your email. I've been out of town. We had another grandbaby this last week. So
See, Blair, you need childcare.
I do. Yeah. Well, this one's in Helena. So
Oh.
unfortunately you have 2 young folks that are going to be paying $1,000 a month for this little baby girl. So yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, Jen, so let's set up a time and we'll talk, and any questions you have, we can go over whatever you want.
That sounds good, Blair. I appreciate it. I had said earlier before you came on that I had reached out to a few of you, and maybe toward the end of March would be a good time to just see what your vision is for my position with Kappa, just because I want it to be everyone's input. And I've talked with some of you more than others. So I'm just starting to reach out as the housing is going to be coming to an end.
Yep. No, absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Great.
Yeah, that
Thanks.
sounds great.
Thanks, Lisa.
Just let me know.
Anything else? Thank you all very much. I don't know if we need a motion for adjournment or we just adjourn. We'll adjourn.
Okay. Thanks, Mary.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
Mary.
you. Thanks, Mary.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.